like any topic, I will either have an extremely heated opinion that's like, or not heated, but like a super opinionated thing to say about it, or I'll have a fun fact about it. Like 9 out of 10 times.
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore, built on stolen native land. The statue was never finished. It was supposed to be their whole bodies. It was planned to have a secret vault in the heads that was supposed to store documents, but then they decided to keep those at the White House in climate-controlled environments. Also, the only reason Teddy Roosevelt is on that is because he was friends with the sculptor, and the sculptor was a massive egomaniac and was way too ambitious, and then he ended up dying during the project, and so they never sculpted the rest of the bodies, and all of the rocks at the bottom, those weren't there originally. That's all of the rubble from sculpting the heads.
Wow.
Yeah, I know shit.
You know shit.
Hot girls know shit, alright?
Okay, what do you know about this map?
Fucking sucks.
You suck at it. It's got ray tracing and shit.
Does it? Does it? How does ray tracing work? I can see it being vector maps.
Someone explained it
which
to
is
me,
just a
but I'm
word that
pretty
I
sure
know that doesn't. I don't know. If
Someone
it means anything,
explained.
actually.
See, that's like ray
like
tracing.
that.
See how it glints off your helmet and your character changes stuff? I don't know. Pick another random thing. See if I know something. Jaws. Stanley Kubrick cooked the books on those because he was going way over budget, and if this movie wasn't successful, he likely wouldn't have had a career. And so like he also there's a movie where they have a torn Jaws poster. I think it's like it's a horror movie as like a subtle dig to Stanley Kubrick, and then so in one of his movies they had a poster of the other movie, and then they just kept going back and forth. As like a little like inside joke, and then the director from the other movie died, and Stanley Kubrick put both of their posters next to each other in a scene as like a showing that like the rivalry wasn't like a big deal. It was all in jest. And don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that happened to somebody, but I don't know if it involved Stanley Kubrick.
The guy who made that stare everyone was talking about.
Oh, Kubrick stare, yeah. I thought you meant stairs. It's like,
doesn't FAFO mention?
Yeah, he says diamonds shining Stanley Kubrick because Stanley Kubrick directed The Shining.
Fucking suck.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
me
problem,
another-
dude. Anytime.
Give me another topic, see if I know something.
Okay.
Spaceballs.
Baseballs. They're not allowed to sell merchandise because George Lucas didn't want children buying Spaceballs merch thinking it was Star Wars merch, but they had already had plans for Spaceballs merch, and so there's a joke in Spaceballs where they have a merch store, and it's all of the merch that would have been made if George Lucas allowed them to make. Architecture. Brutalist architecture was invented in the Soviet Union as a affordable means of housing people, and it gets its name, brutalism, for the French word meaning concrete, because all of the buildings are made out of concrete, and it was a dig.
Something else.
It was a dig at the
Forgot.
bourgeois
figure out how
for
to-
their fancy buildings that
works.
had tons of labor put into them, even though it wasn't necessary. But ironically, they wanted to make the buildings look rougher, so they had more labor production put lines through the buildings to make them look more raw. It's really ironic. I could do more architecture, but I don't want to just info dump about architecture.
Yeah,
give me
that's
a new thing. Portal. I could literally info dump about Portal for an hour.
Let's not
Next
do Portal.
question.
Let's not do Portal. My favorite Ellen DeGeneres fact is that 9/11 caused her job to, like, her to lose her job.
Oh, there's someone made a timeline where they connected 9/11 to 50 Shades of Grey being existing, which is hilarious.
Also why Ellen DeGeneres lost her job.
Because 50 Shades of Grey.
Because 50 Shades of Grey, one of the actors on 50 Shades of Grey went on Ellen's show and said how mean she was. And then a bunch of other actors came out like, yeah, Ellen's an asshole. And then and then her crew came out and then flooded out. Have you played this before?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oats.
Oats?
Dr. Elder. You're an ass.
I'm an asshole.
Fuck.
I like the little, oh, he does it when you walk away. It's so funny.
Why didn't you talk to Elderbug, you asshole?
Because it's funny.
That's not cool.
Oh, way back when America, the like colonies were starting, wood boats got to the point where they were so strong that cannonballs would hit them and then just bounce off. Like they got to the point where the cannonballs stopped breaking through the wood. Like obviously it would damage it because you just threw a metal ball at it, you know. But and then when they started switching over to metal ships, the metal wasn't as strong as the wood was, and so they were like, it's kind of like how way back when bows and arrows were more efficient than guns were, just because guns had first started. It was that same type of concept, and so wood boats were actually better than metal ships. I really didn't think I was
brave. Jorts.
Jorts.
Sorry, Slimesicle made a song called Jort Storm, and it's been playing in my head so long, so jorts are in my head.
Do you actually have one for this, or?
No, but I could go on about denim.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so denim, the little rivets on denim, like jeans and stuff,
You talk.
are the reason that those were created is because way back when denim was a workman's fabric and miners would wear them, and way back when like you had 3 outfits.
Miners or
Yeah.
like babies
Digging coal miners.
Okay.
You had like 3 outfits in your entire life.
It's the easy spots.
And so like clothes had to last forever, and traditional thread wasn't working that well with how labor intensive coal mining is. And so they started putting metal rivets into the clothes, and then that just they never stopped doing that. And like throughout history there's always been a trend of workwear becoming streetwear, becoming fashion. Like denim, flannel was
Alien
like
reference.
what?
It's an Alien reference.
Oh,
right here.
Stomach, yeah. I don't really know anything about jorts. Yeah. Jorts that's such a weird topic. I like that. That's a good topic.
Medieval fashion.
Medieval fashion? I don't know.
I actually know a little bit about that.
They
had like 7 layers back then. It was crazy.
Okay. Unrelated.
Wait. Don't give me my next topic yet. I'm gonna think if I know anything about medieval.
It's not
fashion.
a topic.
Okay.
It's about medieval fashion. Well, no, it's about medieval armor.
I could give a little bit about armor, but
my favorite fact is that like a lot of people think when you're in a full plate armor you're slow and sluggish. Those guys are tanks running so fast. They can't stop very well, but they can run and get a concussion. But
you had to be strong just to carry that shit around.
Yeah. I think like what was that Treehouse storytelling Treehouse book? I don't know if you read it as
like the time traveling treehouse thing.
Yeah, the time.
I never read those, but I know what you're talking about.
They had one about knights. And
Magic
one of the
Treehouse.
facts
Magic
was
Treehouse,
the helmet alone weighed like 20 pounds or like 50. Which are crazily different numbers, but I just can't remember.
Okay, I don't know if this is medieval, but it's
old fashioned.
It's probably far enough back that I could argue that it's in the same realm. But anyways, pants were invented because before pants were a thing, everybody wore like robes and skirt and dress type materials, where it was essentially just they made a giant cloth and then wrapped themselves in it. Like that's what the Greeks did for like all of Greek history, was just here's a giant cloth, that's all you're wearing. But pants were invented because it made horse riding easier, which and horses were being utilized in war more and more. So the only reason men don't wear skirts commonplace today is because of war. And that is why I am anti-war. The only reason I'm anti-war. I don't know when that happened, but that's probably the closest to medieval fashion I can get.
Deep sea fish.
Deep sea fish. Oh, okay. There's this really cool thing called deep sea gigantism. Basically, when you at the bottom of the ocean, the further you go into the ocean, the harder it is for sunlight to reach because there's just more like atoms and more shit there. And so the further into the ocean you get, the colder it gets. And the warmer something is, either the faster it is or the larger the object is. And so to survive, fish and other animal like sea creatures have evolved to be absolutely massive because they can retain heat easier, because the smaller something is, the harder it is for it to retain heat. And so there are like sharks and like squid and shit, like I don't know, just sea creatures, you know what creatures are, but that are just who have evolved to be absolutely massive because of how deep. Pretty crazy. Also, bioluminescence is found in deep sea ocean and shit, and that stuff is crazy. Like I don't know how that evolved, but it is one of the gnarliest things in nature.
I mean, it could. I don't really need it yet.
Also, I had a culture shock a while ago when I realized that fireflies are not commonplace throughout the entire United States. They're very commonplace in the Midwest, but I saw a video about someone I think they were from New York, came to the Midwest, and they were like, these bugs, they're just straight up glowing. And it was like, they were freaking out about it. I was like, yeah, it's firefly. And then I was like, oh, they don't have fireflies over there.
Yeah, that's
It was
crazy.
super weird. Like, fireflies are so commonplace. I've been around them literally my entire life.
The wild krayets told me about... Yeah.
There's an episode of Wild Kratts that I think about a lot. It's absolutely bonkers. There's this type of jellyfish that's technically immortal because it just doesn't do anything, you know? So, like, it has, like, no natural predators, I think. Point is, they live, like, fucking forever, and they can, like, regen super easy. So it's, like, the closest to an immortal creature on Earth. I said on Earth, like, there's creatures on other planets documented. Anyways, and so they use their creature powers to get that immortal ability, and then they're floating around, and then they get so bored that they choose mortality.
Oh, we have immortal jellyfish powers! We can live forever! Yeah. Jellyfish can't do much. They just float and wait for things to happen. Yeah!
Because they are too bored to be immortal, and that is some of the funniest and deepest philosophy ever given in a children's show, other than the shit in Adventure Time. Adventure Time has some of the gnarliest philosophy. That's one of my favorite things about Adventure Time is all of the philosophy. I think you would appreciate the philosophy in Adventure Time. Muppets. Any puppet made by the Jim Henson Company is classified as a Muppet, so the Eraserhead baby is technically a Muppet. Also, Fraggle.
Right, but all three of us knew that one.
Okay, but that's still my favorite fact.
Yeah, that's a really fun fact. I do like that.
Jim Henson was definitely stoner. He did like acid and shit, so lots of his works are influenced by that like 80s acid era, coke era type stuff. But there was this one puppet he used for a counting.
Wait, you pogo on him. It's faster to just swing up.
For
you don't take any knock.
A counting video on Sesame
Sorry, I don't
Street,
want a backseat game. Do whatever you want.
where it was a mouth and eyes that were moved on like a flat. I think it's green screen, and they're moved by sticks that you don't see. Anyways, people found it super creepy and off-putting, and like they really didn't like it, so it was pulled from Sesame Street and wasn't ever used in further episodes. But he reused it for the Limbo video, and that is one of my favorite short films of all time. It's about a guy.
I thought you were talking about Limbo.
Yeah, it's the same puppet, but it was originally used in Sesame Street. And Limbo and Possibly in Michigan are two of my favorite short films of all time.
Painting.
Bob
Ross.
Let's
go in
that's
deeper.
A good specific.
Bob
Ross. Okay. He never made a dime from his show was called The Joys of Painting. Right? Yeah, Joy of Painting. He never made a dime from his actual show because it was on PBS with public
service.
Public broadcast service.
Yeah.
Which doesn't have any funding from advertisers and stuff. It's only fan funded. His money came from Bob Ross themed merchandise like painting kits, the videos on like VHS and stuff. And all of the paintings are actually stored at some like random old lady's house in just a bunch of cardboard boxes. For some reason, they were never put into a museum, which I find strange. Also, I don't know how true this is. This might be like an urban legend thing that kind of snowballed, but apparently he was a drill sergeant in the army or something.
I think, and like a lot of people say it was a World War II sniper.
There's so many different
he's a fun little guy.
But basically he swore off yelling, and that's like kind of where also Allegedly, I'm saying allegedly so people don't come after me for this, but allegedly he stole the style of wet on wet painting, which is the style he uses, from this other guy who like pretty much invented it, and Bob Ross was credited as like the inventor of that style, even though he learned it from somebody else, and that got him like hot water a couple times.
Allegedly. That's cool.
Hey, what about that new movie that's definitely not about Bob Ross?
The one with Owen Wilson?
Yeah.
It's just called Paint, I think.
Oh, but going back to just the broad topic of paint, Van Gogh, a lot of his paintings, like the trippy imagery we get from them, is caused by lead poisoning, because back then lead paint was very common, and he was very suicidal, and would people knew that if you ate too much lead paint, they didn't know why, but they knew if you ate too much paint, you could die from it. And so he would just eat paint to try and kill himself, and it didn't work. And then so he would just trip, and then that's where like Starry Night comes from.
Oh no, they're ants. They got fat asses, of course.